skills. And the thing about skills is what we have to think about is when we think about skills, we always think about what we're really good at, but sometimes we have skills that we want to develop. Sometimes we want to increase skills. And sometimes you are very skilled at things you really don't like doing. So we're really focusing on just having a better understanding of what skills entail and how you could make sure that you have the ability to talk about your skills with an employer or in a networking event or something, even on a resume. All right, so there is 8 competencies that all employers seek. So regardless of what major, what career path you're going into, what industry, they're always looking at these 8 different areas. And it's your job to really align your skills with these competencies that employers are seeking. So it's like the career and self-development, communication, critical thinking, equity and inclusion, leadership, professionalism, teamwork, and technology. Now, when I show this, a lot of times students go, well, what exactly does that mean? And I'm going to show you a site that you could go into and learn all about it and where you sit exactly within these skills. So how do you know your skills? It's basically a 3-part of what you have to do. First, you need to do a reflection and just think about it. Then you need to assess yourself, and then you need to make the connection. So there is like a 3-part here. And once you complete that 3rd part, you should have a better understanding about the skills that you're bringing and also the skills that you might be lacking and need to improve upon. So reflection. So this is where you reflect on your learning, the classes you have taken, the projects that you completed. What skills did it take to be in that group of 4? Sometimes the skills is very tangible, very hands-on if you're in engineering. Other times that project could be a research project with another individual or a research project with a presentation. So all of those things are definitely skill-based. The other thing is you look at your part-time and internship experience. So there's a lot of times, like for example, I was a food server for 13 years of my life going through when I was in high school, all through my college and through my master's, I was a food server. And I never thought about it when I was a food server, how I was building customer service, how those same skills of interacting with customers, I would utilize as a counselor. So even though it was completely irrelevant to what I'm doing today, there is so much relevancy there of what I learned for years that I could apply as a professional. So it's just taking that step back and thinking about everything that you've done and how and what skills are you utilizing along the way. The other thing is ask others that's really close to you. Sometimes you forget what you've done and things that you experience, but usually the people that you love and that are the closest to you, that could be a parent, a guardian, a partner, even really close friends that you've had for years, have a chat with them and reflect with them because they're going to remember things that you experienced that it didn't seem so important to you at the time, but in reality, you still utilize that skill today. So the second part is the assessment aspect. So you need to assess your skills. The easiest way is to take the Focus 2. This is located on our main website. And basically you're going to take 2 of the areas, Am I Career Ready? And the self-assessment. The self-assessment is 5 assessments within the same system. So it's the work interest. So are you interested in what areas? Your personality. The personality will basically say, why do you want to work? The leisure time. What do you do for fun? The values, what's important to you? And then the last is skills, the areas you really want to improve upon. I would tell you right now, the 5 assessments with the self-assessment and the career ready, those will take you about 25, max 30 minutes to complete. But you're going to walk away with a lot of ability to talk about your skills. It will help you write your resume a little bit better and also to talk about yourself in an interview situation when someone says, why should we hire you? Or what do you think you could bring to us that others can't? And that's where you go back to your personality, your passion, why you're working in this field and going towards this field. And then also the skills that you're bringing. And everybody has a little bit of a different level of skills. So the third part is where you're going to really truly make those connections. And this is where you're going to grab a piece of paper, and just like that image shows, it's like almost like that spider. So you start with the main concept and you branch out. So write down everything that you've learned and look for similarities. Now, this is also something that you could bring to a career counselor, your liaison to your college, and say, this is what I have. We're used to looking at things like this, so we could help you create and understand what skills you bring. But if you want to do it on your own, that's fine too. But you're just looking for similarities, commonalities between it. Think about those transferable skills. And a transferable skill is like I said, I was a food server, and the things that I was learning as a food server, working well in a high stress environment, being able to maintain order and manage my time well. I'm sure you've all sat at a restaurant where the food server just kind of like disappeared, and you're like, I have no idea, because that person was not good with time management. I wasn't a food server for 13 years, the lead food server, if that was me. So it was a natural trait, a natural skill that I had that I utilized without really realizing it. The other thing is, what do you enjoy doing? So when you're writing this out, there are sometimes you're really good at something. Let's say you're really good at math, and it's just a natural a skill that you have. So you're really good at that abstract thinking. But what happens is with abstract thinking, sometimes you're like, but I don't want to do math every day. I don't want to do math as my career path. But that abstract, understanding how to take very obscure information and actually leveling it down where you're able to understand it. That's a skill. It's not necessarily math, but it's the abstract thinking aspect. Some people are very tangible. It has to be in front of them to understand it. And other people, the mathematic individuals, you definitely have an abstract thought. So that is a skill within itself. How do you learn the skill? So think about the scenario of when you used it. So when you're thinking of saying, okay, well, how did I use a skill? Was it at work, home, school? Because ultimately, when we start looking at skills, the main reason you're doing this is so you can improve your resume, and you can improve your interviewing. You can improve speaking with employers and recruiters. So you're going to have to verbally talk about this skill. You can't just give them a grocery list of saying, these are the skills that I have. But instead, it has to be put within a scenario of how you utilize that skill. And that also shows them, the person who's listening to you, that, hey, yeah, you definitely have the skill because you're telling a story and you're talking about it where they themselves are changing their own perception of, yeah, you definitely have that skill. So that's that's that last part. So you made the connection, but ultimately you're looking at it and saying, okay, where did I utilize this at? And it could be several places, or it could just be one main area. Think about part-time, full-time, volunteer, everything that you do. And classroom projects, just going to class. And I'm going to show you something that's going to kind of combine it at the end. All right, so Focus 2. Focus 2 is very easily found on our website. So you just go to fresnostate.edu/careers, and you scroll down till you see these little blue circles. And what you're going to do is you're going to scroll down and you're going to click on the Focus 2 part, right? When you go into Focus 2, it's going to look like this on the right-hand side, and it's going to look like a single login. This is not a single login. So just remember what you're going to have to do as soon as you get to the site. You're going to click register, unless you had to do this for a classroom project here at Fresno State. Otherwise, you're going to click on register. Don't just Google Focus 2, because what's going to happen is you might not end up in the Fresno State website. It has to say Fresno State at the top. If it doesn't, other universities utilize this, so it might show a different university, and they're going to keep you from going in. So go through here, click the register button, and when you register, the very first question is the access code. Our access code is really simple, Bulldogs, right? So you're just going to type in Bulldogs. If you happen to forget and you're like, I cannot remember, click this need help. It sends me an email. I don't need to know all the information about you and your life story. All I need to know is access code for Focus 2. That's all you have to write. And I will know you need the word Bulldogs, and I'll send that to you. You're just going to put in Bulldogs, and you're going to put in your information. And to make this more like a single login, like it looks like a single login, go ahead and use your Fresno State username and password. This will help and smooth everything out so you won't forget it. Once you're in, you're going to see this really cool dashboard. And as I mentioned before, you're going to do the Am I Career Ready? And you're going to do the self-assessments. Is there other things on here that you can spend time on? Yeah, most definitely. These two areas, like I said, will take about 25, 30 minutes total for all of them. If you want to review it a little bit more, there's a lot of cool things on here. What can I do with a major? Compare side by side. Let's say that you're an anthropology major, but you're trying to figure out what's the difference between being an anthropologist, and sometimes people say, oh, you could also be a sociologist, and you're comparing those side by side. You can see the comparison and what the differences are. So definitely you can spend hours on here, but to really understand your skills, you definitely need to do these two areas. Now, for Am I Career Ready? This is going to assess your 8 competencies. Remember the 8 competencies I mentioned before? And this section will take you approximately 5 minutes to complete. So if you only have a few minutes, definitely go in there and just complete this area. And then you're able to understand where you sit within those competencies that employers are seeking. This will also offer ideas of how to improve and enhance without taking a class. It's ultimately allowing you um, to just go in and say, okay, well, how can I be more proactive and more conscious about what I'm doing and how this relates to skills? And ultimately, when you go in, it's going to look like this. Am I career ready? So you could click on these little eyes and it's going to tell you more or less. Someone asked a question for the Fresno State user ID. For the Fresno State user ID, the access code is Bulldogs, but when you go into the site, it doesn't ask for an ID. If it does say Fresno State ID, you could just put 99, so 9999, or you put your student ID down. It doesn't matter. Either way is fine. All right, so going back to Am I Career Ready? So if you go into the competencies, it's going to show you this. You can click on each one. It's going to tell you what it's all about. But going in, like if I click in critical thinking, I answer these 3 questions. That's it. That's for each section, you're answering 3 questions, not at all to very high degree. And then you click continue, and it's going to go to the next one. At the end of it, it's going to give you the results. And these results are going to give you an idea of where you're at. This is out of 100. So, the person is a little under 60. So you look over here, moderately developed, all the way down to something that is not yet developed. Sometimes you might actually have one that's, floor, bottom line, just maybe a little blue stripe at the bottom. And that's fine, because right now you're at the area where, and the time that okay, now I can start building these skills. And the way that you do that is basically when you start looking at like your critical thinking skills, it will tell you I'm moderately developed. And here's ways that I could improve. So you could actually check mark these and it could be there for you to look at. But if you notice participative research projects, you all have to participate in research projects. You have to write papers all the time. But it's basically start thinking about this as a critical thinking skill. Practice gathering information that will help you solve problems, right? We do this all the time as a student. Join a club that requires problem solving, participate in class discussions. How many of you sit in class in the back and don't speak up? So instead of doing that, be more proactive. And if that's very uncomfortable for you, which to me, I'm an introvert, that's like that to me, I would be a nervous wreck to sit there and just start talking in class. But do it like when you get into groups of 4, be more proactive and start saying your point of view. This will help you build the critical thinking skills. On here, you could also describe how you're planning on developing those skills. And then it also talks about sample behaviors, make decisions and problem solve using sound, inclusive reasoning, and judgment. So this is telling you what this behavior looks like. And this will help you talk about your skills a little bit more and actually start making those connections. So when an employer is asking you, what type of skills do you have? You're able to pull back and say, yeah, I now understand what critical thinking really means, or what communication really means. So how I mentioned before, this is how we make those connections of what you do now and that transferable skill. So you keep your promises and do what you say, and do what you say you will do. I mean, there are friends, and if you're that type of person, guess what? You're reliable and take commitment seriously. So that's a skill. You can think of 10 different ways to do something. That means you're very much of a creator, ideation, creative with the ability to solve problems, right? Because we're not just looking at the problem as one. Nope, I know how to solve it in multiple ways. You have good study habits. You're good at concentration skills and always prepared. That's why you do it. But we look at the last one. You pull all-nighters to get assignments done. I'm sure we've all done that. And that you work well under pressure and you always get the job done. So you're committed. You have that commitment. Even if you practice every day to play on a team, motivated, persistent, and get the job done right. One thing that I really like, because my son plays on video games, and I'm always like, well, he's building a skill, video game expert, and know the right moves. You anticipate problems and deal quickly with them. So see how everyday things actually is areas of skills that you have. It's just thinking about it in a little bit differently. And that's the most important thing when you start thinking about skills. All right. So now I'm going to pass the floor on to Daniel.
All right, so let me make sure I can share my screen. Take over the screen, Jody.
I was being hot.
Let's see. And can you see my screen? Is that the?
Yes.
And it went full screen right now?
Yes.
Excellent. All right. So picking up where Jody left off, besides sharing these tips and advice on how to think about your skills and how you can articulate and speak on them, we definitely don't want to make it seem that you can only talk to us, right? It may be that you apply for a job or internship and you get the interview that the following day or soon after, and you want to practice how you articulate these skills. We have a ton of great resources in our website. So the second part of the presentation is more about all the tools and resources we have in our website and how you can utilize them. So if you go back to our Career Center website, fresnostate.edu/careers, we have a pretty good, that's actually a pretty cool resource called A Candid Career. So it's this circle right here. So when you click it, there is a whole library of videos on different careers and what the career looks like. A lot of career interviews in there, but there's a whole section called Get Hired Topics. So when you access this collection of videos, some of the videos in here address skill sets and how you can speak about or develop these different skills that employers are seeking, like communication, teamwork, how you speak about your technical or your skills using technology. So there is a whole collection. And what I really like about these videos, they're not lengthy at all. They're, a minute to 3 minute max videos. And they can really show you and sometimes help you realize that you have some technology background, that how you work in your research projects or different group projects in your class. It's a way to think about how you're developing these teamwork abilities. So there's a whole library there and different perspectives and advice on how to better articulate your skill set. In addition to Candid Career, I'm going to take you through a quick tour of our website to see other resources available to you. So let me reshare my screen. Let's try this again. Okay, so you should be able to see the Career Center webpage. Sorry, our website. And the first item I wanted to highlight is under the student section. When you hover right over this and you scroll down to Get Experience and Get Hired, you'll see a whole webpage dedicated to these 8 career readiness competencies. So similar to what Jody was highlighting in the content that is available through Focus 2, in here we give you direct access to what does the skill really mean, how you can showcase it or speak about it if you're engaging with an employer or during an interview, and some additional videos to better comprehend it. So this is a quick overview on the top skills that across all industries colleges and universities hear from employers that they're seeking from recent college graduates. So this could definitely give you a lot of vocabulary to speak on these things and potential examples that, hey, I know how to do that, or I've done that in classes or projects or any of my experiences, so now you can put it into words. So this is a neat resource for all of you. Another exciting tool that we have for you when you go under resumes and interviews, you can click under the interview section, and we have different videos and great tips on how to prepare for your interviews. So when you think about interviewing, it's exactly what we're talking about, how you speak and present or showcase your skill set, your experiences. So there is a variety of a lot of great tips and techniques on how to answer specific interview questions. But ultimately, we want you to go through this information and reflect on your experiences so you can speak on them, right? um, Part of interviewing also has to do with looking presentable, looking your best for that very important interaction with an employer, which is the first day of your potential job, which is the interview. So we understand, and I'm thinking back when I was a student here at Fresno State, I was in a very tight monthly budget. I had a student job in a local elementary, so I could barely make ends meet to pay my apartment rent and some of the expenses I had. So the idea of buying a professional suit was not within my means at the time. So we do have a clothing closet available for all of you. It's open. Feel free to come in Monday through Friday. We have students available as early as around 8:30 to around 4:30, and that could give you some feedback on how to utilize the space that we have. We have a fitting room, and we have some students that do an amazing job organizing the professional clothing available to all of you. And all these accessories and clothing items are free for Fresno State students. All you have to do is come in, check in, give us your student ID number, and go in there shopping. So we definitely want you to know about this resource, because you also have to, look your best when you interact with employers or you present yourself for an interview. And then in closing, some of you are listening to this information and reflecting that, hey, I don't have some of those skills on my resume, or I need some extra help developing my interviewing skills, so I need some coaching. We have a walk-in service at the Career Development Center. We call it the Career Cafe, and you can join us virtually. This will log you right into a Zoom meeting available from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., or you can come in person. And we have collaborative workspaces. We have two nice tables, and we have trained students that can spend some one-on-one time with you and give you some coaching and feedback on your resume and your cover letter or any other um, employment materials they need to submit for jobs. So definitely take advantage of all these resources and get help, so you can rock your interviews, or when you engage with employers, you can present yourself in the best way possible. So I'm going to reshare my screen and go back to the presentation. Let's make sure if I can get a confirmation, Jody, I'm sharing the right screen.
Yes, you are.
Excellent. Okay, so I'm going to pass it back to, I'm going to tag team with Jody on this event. I believe we have somewhere around 14 confirmed companies attending this event. And this is a new twist on how to network with companies or company representatives. So can you tell us more about this event, Jody?
Yes, but can I share my screen because you have the old?
Yeah. Go for it.
All right.
There it
Okay,
is.
so that's the picture that we're
There.
needing. All right, so basically with this event, this is called Meet the Professionals. We always have this event every year, and this is a great opportunity for if you're a senior or even a junior that want to have that networking aspect of talking with employers. But this year we're doing it a little bit differently, and it's called Undercover Boss. So you're not going to go there with your resume as usual, and the employers are not going to be sitting there with all their employer garb saying, this is the company I am. Instead, it's going to be just they're going to have a sign on their table saying these are the skills that they're seeking, instead of really looking at, oh well, I really don't want to work at XYZ company because they only hire let's say they only hire engineers. That's not so. You have to look at every single company as a layer of different areas that they hire. Even let's say a hospital. A lot of times you're like, oh, they're only here for nurses, but you know what? It's a business. They have accounting jobs. They have jobs that from accounting to HR to advertising to social media. So they have all these different areas. So sometimes, speaking with them, you learn about these different opportunities. So this is just an evening of networking, and the employers are undercover, and you're not even going to say what major you are. Because there's also, like, let's say you're a liberal studies major, because that's the college I oversee. There's an idea of liberal studies majors that most employers are looking at going, I don't know what that major really is all about. And it could be the same thing as like sociology or anthropology, or let's say you're a criminology major and they're thinking, why does a criminology major want to even talk to me? So we're eliminating all of that, and we're only focusing on skills and abilities, because there are a lot of employers that hire all majors. And so it takes away the biases that you may have towards that employer, and it also takes the biases away from the employers. What's really nice, it's very relaxed. You don't have to come wearing a suit. You could just dress business casual. What is business casual? It's just basically slacks and a nice shirt or a polo shirt. We prefer not like no Fresno State garb. So no t-shirts that has the bulldog on it, but just nice looking clothes. A lot of times I always say, it's like going to your grandparents' house. You always want to look nice. No ripped jeans or anything like that. And it's going to be in the viticulture and enology lawn. So that's off of Barstow. It's kind of catty corner from like the police station. So if you know where the police station is, it's just on the opposite side of the street. You should be able to see us. And there's going to be light hors d'oeuvres. And it's also, just because you're on this site, we're also going to have wine available. So if you are over the age of 21, I'm just going to stress the fact, if you have your ID, you could get a band to drink. Don't drink excessively. Think about having maybe one glass of wine, and that's it, because you want to stay very cohesive and understanding and not get kind of silly. Because a lot of times if you drink, that takes away a lot of your stress. And it is a stressful situation if you've never went into a networking event before. So this will allow you just to kind of take away the nerves, but don't go crazy, So sip it. And even if you're like going, well, maybe I'll talk first and then I'll just relax and have a glass of wine and just kind of eat a few of the items, right? But ultimately, you do have to RSVP before this, so go ahead and scan this. You should also have received this from your career liaison. So this exact thing should also be in your email someplace under your career liaison.
Yeah, so a couple of comments on this event. We encourage all of you in attendance to join. If you have some friends and you want to tell them about the Fresno State students, tell them to go with you. I personally, I didn't take advantage of a lot of opportunities like this when I was a student. But if you do attend, don't just, take it slow. Don't feel like you have to speak to every employer at the event. Maybe, start with one, see how it goes, take a little break and reflect. Okay, how was my conversation? Did I speak about the skills they're seeking, right? And then, go for round two to another table. If you feel like it's going very well with one company recruiter, maybe exchange and share with them your email or ask if they do have a business card, and then they can follow up with them. So it's a great opportunity to practice this topic we're addressing today of, reflect and identifying your skill sets and now speaking about them. So it, like Jody said, it will be a relaxed environment. It's not a career fair. It's just a chance to network, get to know their history or their career path as well. And most of our staff will be present. So if you want to practice your, how you're going to introduce yourself, which I think we're going to go right into that next, you can practice that with us, and we can give you some pointers before you approach the employers and the tables. So I was right on cue. This right here is coming from our career success guide. It's a nice book that we have on our website with a lot of tips on resume writing, interviewing, and doing your elevator pitch or your 30-second commercial, right? How you introduce yourself at networking events or you could use this on an interview too when you get asked, tell us about yourself. So this is a good visual and easy way to think about this introduction, that you should already have something ready for these events. Or when you come and see us, I start every meeting with, tell me about yourself. Who are you? Like, what's your major? What have you done related to your career interest? And what do you want to go next? What are your career goals? So those images at the top of the screen right now will show you relevant topics to bring up when you introduce yourself. Then you see an example right under screen, and then we even provide a small section for you to write this out. It's not going to come out natural, so practice saying it a few times. And like I said, most of our staff will be at this event or any event that our office hosts, and we can always practice with us first. But anything you want to add on, tell me about yourself or introductions, Jody?
The biggest thing is if you do take the Focus 2, which I highly suggest, this will help you answer this question. Like I said, with the personality, it's going to tell you why you want to work, what is your passion, and you could throw that in within this example of talking about yourself. And by practicing and practicing, and I highly suggest practice aloud. Don't just practice in our mind, because our mind is really cool. We could just think of topics and it'll stream it together and it sounds really great in our mind. But when we actually say it aloud, it's kind of scary. So just practice, even record yourself and answer it. This should literally take about 30 seconds. So it's nothing long, but make sure that you kind of follow this example and say, okay, what else can I say? And make it sound natural, and don't try to rehearse it where you're saying it verbatim. So it's truly a conversation. Anytime that you utilize this, you're wanting to have a conversation with those individuals. So if you've taken your speech class, like which is probably your communication class, you've learned what conversations are all about. And so it is listening and also looking at those cues that the person is understanding.
Yeah, so the only twist for this event that we encourage you to attend next Thursday is just omit the part about your major. So that'll be the only twist. But other career events, definitely, share your major. So in your screen, you'll see all the different ways you can connect with the Career Development Center. Reading your emails and attending these events is one of them. But if you ever want more of a one-on-one approach, meeting with a career counselor like myself or Jody, or coming into our walk-in hours through our career cafe. And yes, we do have coffee there. It's a cafe, and we have warm water for tea and some light snacks. We're a place where you can always come by and get the assistance that you're looking for. So I just want to welcome everybody and invite you to come and use our services. So that's pretty much all that we had for you. Any closing thoughts, Jody, before we end
And
it?
just as an FYI, we are here during the summer months. So let's say you're about to graduate, we do work with alums, so you could continue to utilize us. And also in the summer, our hours turn from 7 to 3:30, but we are here again, Monday through Friday, 7 to 3:30. So sometimes you're just feeling so overwhelmed right now with the school year ending. Just know that we're here and we could help you. We're just a lot less busy with appointments in the summer, so you could probably call us on one day and see us the next day. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And if you have a question, feel free to ask that. Otherwise, we have a really great afternoon.
Yeah, and this was recorded. It'll be available on our YouTube page, our YouTube channel. So if you want to recap the content or you need extra help, come check us out or watch the video. Bye, everyone. Take care.
Bye.